I got the phone call from the doctor. I was all alone in the house. Ron was at a golf tournament 2 hours away, a fundraising golf tournament. And I didn't know what to do, literally. I didn't know what to do.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding ours, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hi there, welcome to A Better Us and to our home. We're so glad you're here.
Over the course of our many episodes of A Better Us, Ann and I have shared a lot of our experiences as a married couple, our mistakes we've made, lessons we've learned, and lots of stuff in between.
On today's show, we're inviting you into a more personal look at our lives as we candidly share our love story, our train wreck of a wedding ceremony,
That's true.
and more recently, the most difficult journey we've ever walked, my diagnosis with breast cancer.
It's a real and revealing conversation that we're inviting you into because we want you to know how we've gotten through it.
That's right.
And I'll give you a hint. It's not on our own strength.
As well, we'll have Dr. Mike on the beach talking about the power of priority. And popular sex and marriage author Sheila Wray Gregoire will reveal the missing ingredient in many relationships: intimacy.
It's going to be a special edition of A Better Us, so come on in and let's get started.
How many times have you tried to speak to your spouse and have them look distracted? My wife has had to deal with this so often. She used to complain about this all the time in our marriage. And the reason is I'm like the king of multitasking. I can do 7 things at one time and I love it. I can actually watch ESPN and listen to my wife. I'm telling you I can. I know it seems impossible. I can hear what she's saying. I'm the only person in the world who can surf the internet and hear every word my wife speaks to me. I've proven it over and over and over again. But I've learned, as I've listened to my wife, that it really doesn't matter, that I'm able to gather this data and kind of take it in when I'm listening, because it communicates to her when I'm distracted that I'm not prioritizing her. So I'm not gonna lie, it took me a while to get it, but at some point it sunk in because I'm a psychologist. I should know this. Part of communication is looking at the other person in the eye, like squaring up with them and giving them verbal feedback that you understand and that you empathize. That's what I do with people all day long in my office. So when you're listening to your spouse, you need to nod. You need to like have some eye contact, and you need to nod, and you need to smile, and you need to give affirming statements and summaries like, I think you're saying this, and then you paraphrase what they say. Because when we do this, we are communicating, you know what, I value enough to suspend everything else I'm doing. And when you need to talk, I'm gonna look you in the eye and I'm gonna prioritize you above all else. You are number one right now, number one. So if you wanna have the marriage you've always wanted, number 1, stop multitasking, just stop it. Number 2, turn towards your spouse. Number 3, be present. And number 4, listen.
And Kim leaned over to me and she said, wow, look at the one with the mustache. And I looked them both over and I said, he's okay. But there's something about that other one that I really like. Little did I know that that was actually going to be my husband eventually.
For more marriage encouragement, follow A Better Us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And subscribe for your free weekly Marriage Moment email at abetterus.tv.
Well, we first met when I went down with my brother Reynold. My parents were driving him down to college, and I tagged along as well to university in Springfield, Missouri. And so while we were down there dropping him off, and then I was planning to go the following semester, so I wasn't about to start, but I thought I'd go for the ride, I'd check out the school and everything. And so we went down, and it was on a Sunday, so we said, well, we'll go to a local church and we'll visit there. And that's when
which happened to be my church. And so my girlfriend Kim and I was 17 years old, and we were sitting in church, checking out the boys, as you do when you sit in church when you're 17 years old. And we saw a couple of good-looking guys walk in the back. And Reynold had a mustache and Ron didn't. And Kim leaned over to me and she said, "Wow, look at the one with the mustache." And I looked them both over and I said, "He's okay. But there's something about that other one that I really like." Little did I know that that was actually going to be my husband eventually, but there was just something about him that I was attracted to. And so I got up my courage when church ended, all by myself, because I was starting school too that fall. I thought, I'm just going to go up and introduce myself to them. Hopefully they're starting at school and I'll see them. And so I introduced myself to them, and Reynold broke the news to me that just he was starting, Ron wasn't, and but that Ron was coming in the January semester. So I thought, okay, I'll try to remember that. Look for this guy in January. And so that was when we first met. I remember every detail of when we first met.
Now, she likes to say that she remembers every detail because she knows that I don't remember meeting anyone after church that day. Because the thing was, my radar wasn't out because I wasn't going to start school yet, and my brother and I were going down on football scholarships, but he was starting first, I was starting later on.
Yeah.
And so I just remember meeting, some girls, some people at the end of the program, at the end of the service.
He remembers meeting some girl. That's the impression I made on him that day.
Hey, she is some girl, isn't she? She's some girl.
Good recovery, honey, good recovery.
So then when I did start school, we ended up in the same psychology class.
Yeah.
And so it was a large class, like maybe 90 students, and it was kind of semicircular. And so I could sit in one area, and I noticed these beautiful eyes across the other side of the classroom.
And I happened to notice him in my class too, so I kind of angled my body so that between the heads, if I sat just right, I'm looking at the professor, but I could look over and there he is. So I'm listening, of course, because you go to school to learn, people. So I was there to learn. But I was making sure that I was angled just right so that I could see him if I looked over there.
It was a psychology class, so we're kind of psychoanalyzing each other, perhaps.
And we're still doing that, actually. All these years later, we're still doing it.
But it was after one class, I had it all worked out in my mind how I was going to approach her and ask her out, because there was this event that was going on in the gymnasium of the school where it said bring a blanket and a friend, and it was going to be a movie night, and you just kind of sit on the floor.
Olden days, that when they showed movies with a projector in the gym.
And so I thought, okay, I know what I'm going to say. I said, I noticed that there's an event going on at this school gymnasium. It says bring a blanket and a friend. Well, I have a blanket,
but I don't have a friend.
How's that for a line?
I know, it was pretty sappy, but you know what, it worked.
So over the next couple of years while attending university, we dated and got to know each other and actually became best friends.
Which is great groundwork for marriage, and we're still best friends. And then it was between our third and fourth years of school that we got married.
Well, our wedding day was very memorable.
But not in the way you might imagine. Yes, we had flowers and bridesmaids and dresses and candles, and it was beautiful. But the memorable part of our wedding came because we actually lost 2 of our groomsmen. Now, it's not that we didn't know where they were. We knew exactly where they were. The whole congregation knew exactly where they were. They were on the platform, on the carpet, out cold. 2 of our groomsmen fainted during our wedding. Beautiful old church, but it didn't have air conditioning. And so couple that with a hot summer day and tuxedos.
And kind of a long ceremony, and the guys locking their knees or whatever it was. And so,
not pretty.
So we look over and we see what's happening. But we had kind of different reactions to it.
Well, okay. So after the first guy went down, I thought, okay, we can get through this. Everything's going to be fine. Doug is okay. When the second guy fainted, I'm starting to think, Lord, what is going on? As soon as Kelly fainted, I started crying. Looking at Kelly, Lord, is he going to be okay? Crying, thinking, no, don't let him stop the wedding. In the meantime, Mr. Spirituality next to me has his eyes closed, worshiping the Lord in the worship ceremony. And that's how different we are. Like, I was in the moment and just so upset. And he was Mr. Calm, cool, and collected.
collected.
Well, she wears her emotions on her sleeve, which, usually opposites attract. And I'm just kind of, more reserved and just saying, everything will be okay. Hey, lay back, it's okay. And that came out right during the wedding ceremony.
Yes, it did. Well, 2 years after the wedding, we had our first baby. We had a little girl, and then 3 years later, we had a little boy, and then 3 years later, we had another little boy. So
We were on the 3-year plan.
yes,
right?
we were. It worked for us. When they were little, of course, they had a lot of adjustments to make as far as television goes because their grandma and grandpa were on 100 Huntley Street, of course, David and Norma Jean Maines. And so we always had to, every
Get together
Christmas,
at Christmas and
Yeah.
do the thing on set and sing Christmas carols and all that. So.
gather around the piano and sing the Christmas carols. And so they learned about television early on.
It seems like once you have kids, the time just seems to fly by.
Never a dull moment for sure.
And now we've been married 36 years, and they're all adults, and 2 are married with children of their own.
Our daughter Andrea and her husband Jason live in Indiana and are the parents to Jadis and Declan and have a baby boy on the way.
Adam works in television as a video editor and actually edits our Better Us program.
And Eric and Kara are new parents to 10-month-old baby Bradley.
And we just love being Nana and Papa to these precious, fun, crazy kids.
Actually, they come by it naturally.
Well, there was a season recently that we've gone through and really are still going through that has been a challenge as we've walked through it as a couple, and that had to do with Anne's health.
So in June of 2019, I got a phone call from the doctor that nobody wants to get. A recent test result had come back to show that I had breast cancer. Now this was a total shock because there is no history of breast cancer in my family. I didn't expect this. And so when I got the phone call from the doctor, I was all alone in the house. Ron was at a golf tournament 2 hours away, fundraising golf tournament. And I didn't know what to do. Literally, I didn't know what to do. I started pacing through the house. I started crying out to God, literally crying out to God. God, what do? I don't know what to do. And as I'm crying and pacing and walking through the house, I wound up by the front door where there's a piece of artwork that has 4 words on it. The words are, be still and know. And I really felt that was God's Holy Spirit telling me to just calm down. There's nothing you need to do right now other than be still and know that I am God. I've got you. This hasn't taken me by surprise, and I'll get you through this. So I called his cell phone. He answered, and I said to him, can you slip away somewhere where we can chat for a second? And so he did, and I told him about the doctor's phone call.
And I knew right away, she's home alone, a couple hours away. I knew I need to just get home to be with her right now. And so I grabbed my clubs out of the golf cart. I made an excuse to the guys there, and I said, I've just got to go. And got in the car, called her on the speakerphone, and we just were talking and talking on the way
crying
back.
and
Yeah.
praying, and for about an hour of his drive home, that's what we did. We talked and cried and prayed. And finally I said to him, I said, honey, I just feel in my spirit that God wants me to journal my journey, write down what I'm going through. I just felt that. And so he said, you know what? I'll be home in about 45 minutes, an hour. He said, why don't we hang up and you write your first journal entry? And I said, okay. And that's what we did. And that was the first journal entry of many, actually, that I wrote over the coming months. As a month later, I had my first surgery. And that surgery revealed that I would need chemotherapy, which was another blow. I didn't expect that. I was not wanting that at all. But in September of 2019, I started chemo. I had 8 rounds of chemotherapy every 2 weeks. I had my last round of chemotherapy the week before Christmas. And as you can imagine, I had all of the side effects that come with it: extreme fatigue, extreme nausea, and I lost all of my hair. And I'm still getting used to my wig, and my hair is growing back slowly now. It was one of the hardest seasons I've ever been through. In those dark nights of the soul when I couldn't sleep, when I would get up in the middle of the night or early in the morning, I would wake up and leave the bedroom quietly and go out to the kitchen. God met me in those times. God was there for me. He was holding me. He was encouraging me, comforting me. The presence of God, I mean, God created us to need Him. And so, but it's not until we're in these really hard times that we realize how much we do need Him. So during those times, God was there for me, absolutely. But also, Ron was there in very tangible ways. I'll never forget, after my hair came out, actually, after my second chemo treatment, it started coming out in handfuls. As a woman, losing all your hair is like just adding insult to injury. It's just so hard. But during that time, many times, my bald head, this guy here would take lotion and say, honey, come sit down. And he would take lotion and he would massage the shiny skin of my bald head. And he would end every single time by kissing my head and saying, I love this beautiful head. And that was exactly what I needed. That was exactly what I needed to hear. So many times, Ron was with me through every chemo session. He was encouraging me. He was up in the night with me. He was taking care of me, getting me my medication, which was very strict and very regimented. I had to take. He was there for me.
We'd never been down this road before. I didn't know really how to navigate it, but I just knew I needed to be there for her, and I needed to do whatever I could to encourage her. And so I like to say I was kind of the small R rock, while God for her was the big R rock. God was the one that she was really leaning on, and He's the one that gives true security in our life. And
right.
So, but if I could do my small R rock, job, I would do whatever I could to help her through this. But I was so glad that she did have that strength, and she had those morning times with God. She'd get a coffee, she'd get up early, and she'd spend time with Him, and she would, even keep journaling every once in a while, journaling one of her
that first
thoughts.
Journal entry that I wrote on the very first day, I ended up writing many, many more. And in the fall, when I was going through chemo, I thought, well, maybe these could bless somebody else. So I started sharing them on Facebook, social media, just one or two here and there, just hoping I could be a blessing to somebody. And people started tracking with me by the thousands and encouraging me to put them into a book. And so eventually that's what we did. Sometimes the path is difficult. It's really hard, but that doesn't mean that you're left alone. It doesn't mean that God's not with you. It just means that you didn't see it coming, but God did. And as we continue to trust Him, the ground around us could be shaking. Everything around us could be falling apart. As long as the ground beneath our feet is solid, that's what matters. And that can only happen as we put our trust in God. As we turn to Him and say, Jesus, I need you. I give you my life. I surrender to you. Help me get through this. He says to you, I am with you, and I will give you everything you need to get through that. And as a couple, we each have to have solid ground beneath our feet. And then as we are trusting in God individually, He draws us closer together as a couple. And then we walk forward as a couple, trusting Him. And it brings you closer together. It doesn't push you apart. Because I'm sure some days that when you were taking care of me, it wasn't easy. And you were tired and you'd had enough. But you were still trusting God, and you were leaning into Him as well.
Absolutely. And we would have our individual, times with God of prayer, but then we'd come together, and there's something special about praying together.
Yes.
As a couple.
Oh, absolutely.
And just bringing your
Makes
your
such a
needs, your
difference.
concerns, your worries to God together under His authority, and then it just helps every other area of your life, of your marriage, to go a lot smoother when you know He's the one, He's the top priority.
Absolutely.
And we certainly encourage that for every married couple, no matter what you're going through. Now, the good news is
Yes.
that recently you got a report.
I've had 2 doctors have told me I am cancer-free, so I am thrilled about that. I'm so excited for what God has next. You know what? God is faithful and God is good. And as fear tries to do its best work, I just trust that God is holding up his hand and saying, no, you can't touch my child. No, I've got her. We're walking this road together. And that's really what you have to do when you go through hard times. Just trust God, lean into him, lean into each other, and trust that he's going to get you through it.
Hi, we hope you're enjoying the show.
You know, our vision at A Better Us is to see every marriage become a loving union that creates a safe family haven, building a legacy of hope for future generations.
That's why we feel it's so important to invest in marriage relationships through producing a new episode of A Better Us every week.
Absolutely. If you feel as we do that marriages are worth investing in, then please consider joining us as a member of A Better Us with a monthly donation of $25.
You'll be making a big difference in lives and families, and we'll send you 2 of our special mugs, the mugs that you see our kitchen couples using each program.
Absolutely. And be sure to send us your mugshot selfie, and we'll post it on our Facebook page and on our website.
Simply visit abetterus.tv and click donate to set up your automatic monthly giving. And God bless you, and thank you so much for making this program possible and helping us strengthen marriages.
So we can all become a better us.
What is sex supposed to be? When I was 13 years old, I remember sitting in the pews at church with all of my junior high friends, and the pastor was reading from the King James Version of the Bible. We didn't really have a lot of other translations that were popular yet. And he turned to Genesis 4, verse 1. And Adam knew his wife Eve, and they conceived unto them a son. And we all laughed, because that was hilarious, right? Adam knew his wife, as if God was embarrassed of using the real word or something. But I've since learned something really cool about that verse. The Hebrew there for the word know means a deep intimacy, a deep longing to be connected. It's the same word that King David uses in the Psalms when he said, "Search me and know my inmost heart." So why is that? I think it's because God wanted to tell us that sex is more than just physical. It's a deep knowing, a deep intimacy that is emotional and spiritual too. You see, sex at heart is about a deep connection with another. It's the ultimate in saying, you are not alone. And that's why sex needs to be about knowing the other. It's not only about sexual pleasure, it's about experiencing a deep longing to connect with another person. God actually uses sex as an analogy of how he wants to know us. I mean, think about it. Jesus is the bridegroom and the church is the bride. It's very sexual imagery. And I think part of the reason he created the genders the way he did and sex the way he did was so that we would have a mirror and a word picture to understand our own relationship with him. That's why when people are desperate for connection, they often yearn for sex. I experienced this most dramatically on one of the worst nights of my life. You see, my second child was born with a heart defect, and when he was a few weeks old, he underwent a massive surgery. For several days, he looked like he was doing okay, but one night at 1:30 in the morning, the phone rang. And when the phone rings and you have a child in the ICU, that's never a good thing. And we rushed down to the hospital, and they were still working on him. And then 15 minutes later, they brought his body out to us. And we had a chance to hug him and to sing to him. And finally, the nurse came to take him back. And then my husband and I walked home. And now it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and what do you do when your son has just died? We turned to each other that night, and it had nothing to do with being aroused or wanting to reach climax or all those things that we often talk about when it comes to sex. It was that I had a gaping wound in my chest, and I needed my husband to touch it. Billions of people on this planet have had sex. I don't know how many have actually made love, because they are not necessarily the same thing. When we yearn for passion, when we have sex and something's missing, what do? We often try to buy something in a store, but a store can't give you what you need, because what's missing is intimacy, real emotional vulnerability, that yearning to know each other. That's what making love is, and I hope that we would never accept a cheap substitute.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of A Better Us.
We heard from Dr. Mike from the beach, reminding us of how important it is to maintain the right priorities in life.
God, our spouse, our kids, and then everything else. Also, it was so meaningful the way Sheila Wray Gregoire shared quite vulnerably about the importance of true intimacy in marriage.
Yes, what a touching story. And as you can imagine, today's show has been particularly special to us because it's the first time we've shared with you about the most difficult season we've walked through as a couple, my journey with breast cancer.
I don't think any of us anticipate a completely smooth and easy road in marriage, but when our path takes a sharp left turn, it can leave us feeling pretty confused and afraid and totally out of control.
And that can be terrifying. That's why it's so important to have God at the center of your life and of your marriage. If He is the firm foundation beneath your feet as a couple, you have a supernatural strength and security and can literally handle anything that comes your way. We know it's hard to understand, but speaking from experience, we can tell you that it's true.
Right. Perhaps you're in a difficult place right now of an unexpected illness, a strained relationship, or a financial challenge. Whatever you're going through, you can know for sure that God loves you and He wants to walk with you through your journey.
And it all starts with a personal relationship with Jesus. As you invite Him into your life and give Him control, you'll find you have more peace and courage and wisdom than you ever thought possible. Because He's not only with you on your journey, He's lighting the way.
Right. If you're not sure how to take that first step toward that kind of relationship with Jesus, or if you simply want someone to pray with you about what you're going through right now, you can call our 24/7 prayer line. There's a caring person waiting to answer your call.
Thank you for joining us for this very special program. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
And you can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.